Okay, it's 10:30. Where's my committee? Where is everybody? All right, let's. Jeff was here. Oh, you have. Okay, great. Okay, here we are. Here are the big guys. Good. Do we have any public speakers this morning? No. Great. Okay. Have a vote on the minutes.
I move that the minutes be adopted.
All in favor? Aye. Minutes are adopted. Any changes to the work plan? Hearing none. Let's go to the operations report.
Okay, at the tail end of the operations report, I'll some structural changes we're making in the subways area to specifically address a number of issues specifically related to stations and other things. But right now, we'll go through the operations report. So, Steve Field.
Good morning, everyone. Weekday on-time performance results for December 2009 were as follows. The absolute on-time performance were 77.7% system-wide, 79% for the A division, and 76.7% for the B division. As for the controllable on-time performance, 92.7% system-wide, 93.7% for the A division, and 92% for the B division. There were 37,749 weekday delays in December. The top three causes for the delays were supplement schedules, right-of-way delays, and overcrowding combined to account for nearly 81% of the total. The weekend on-time performance results for December were as follows. Absolute on-time performance was 62.9% system-wide, up 29.8 from 48.4 in November. Nearly 95% of the weekend delays were caused by supplement schedules, in effect due to construction activity. The controllable on-time performance was 85.9% system-wide, down 4.2% from 89.7 in November. The subway weight assessment declined slightly in December. System-wide weight assessment was 88.5 in December, down 1.1 from last year. The A division also declined 1.4, while the B divisions showed a small increase of 0.2%. For the year 2009, system-wide weight assessment was 89%, an improvement of 2.7%. Both the A and B divisions also improved year over year. The upward trend also continued for subway mean distance between failures, which was 171,752 miles in December, an increase of 41.6% from 121,264 last year. For the year, the MBDF was 153,201, up 13.7% from 134,795 in 2008. That completes my report.
Not in this report, but if you remember about a month ago, we received an awful lot of complaints from Queens in terms of the impacts it was experiencing for work we had to do on the number 7 line. So what I asked the staff to do is go back and see on the construction of that work or the development of that work if there are ways we could accelerate some of it, which they're doing, in an effort to try to actually deliver the work in better than 9 weeks. And restructuring the work, taking advantage of the fact that last week was a school week, so we could actually have thinning out of some of the service during the week, which would be less impactful on customers, because as you know, with that express line and with the 3-track right away there in express line service, they're very dependent on that. So right now we're doing very well in terms of the schedule, and it's our intent to try to deliver that faster than the 9 weeks, but we are trying to be sensitive to the impacts that they have.
Tom, in addition, I think there were some issues about the noticing period to the community and to the businesses. Are we going to try to do a better job on that, or did we provide what we thought were ample noticing of this?
No, we could always do better. A couple things have happened. From a structural standpoint, we used to have an 18-month look ahead on all general order type work, and for some reason over the past few years that slipped. But when you have an 18-month look ahead and you can then program when work can occur, then you can have a communication strategy that gets out well in advance of when people are going to be impacted. So we need to fix that. The other thing that has impacted us is that when we have had general orders lined up and scheduled, and then we've had to cancel them because of oncoming snow. We've had a couple of snow experiences in the last couple months. And then when we reinstitute it, there have been a couple cases, especially with the C&D diversion, I believe, last weekend or 2 weekends ago, we dropped the ball a little bit. So there's always room for improvement, but those are the two areas that we have to focus on the most. Joe?
Good morning. 2009 weekday pull-out performance was 99.7 in the AM and 99.8 in the PM. Completed trips averaged 98.7 in December and 98.8 for the year. They were slightly down by less than 0.1% from 2008. MDBF was 3891 in December, a decrease of 2.7% from 4,000 a year ago, and for the year, MDBF was 3921, just about flat from 2008. Paratransit, completed trips are up 16.5% for the year. The favorable trend regarding passenger no-shows continued in December. As a percentage of scheduled trips, passenger no-shows were 4.07% down, 22.9% from a year ago. For the year, customer no-shows were 3.8% of scheduled trips in 2009, down 9% from 2008. Thank you.
Chief?
Crime for January 2010 was down 13.8%, 194 overall index crimes versus 225 for 31 less index crime. There was an increase in robbery, 82 robberies in January versus 71 last year. Felony assault was down 21%, 15 in 2010 as opposed to 19 in 2009, and grand larceny was down 29%, 96 grand larcenies in 2010 as opposed to 135 in 2009. Arrests were up 7.5% overall for the month of January.
Cheryl Kendley?
Performance indicators were mixed on the subway side. The customer accident rate decreased by 5.8% in November. However, the 12-month average increased by 5.5% compared to a year ago. The 12-month increase was primarily due to 2 high months in the beginning of 2009, January and March. Subway fires were down 19.5% during December and are down 15% over the last 12 months. Results were mixed on the bus side as well, as the bus customer accident rate increased slightly by 3% in November. The bus collision rate decreased during November by 8.7%, and the 12-month average is down 3.5% from a year ago. And finally, the lost time accident rate was 16.7% lower in December compared to 2008. Although there has been an improvement over the last few months, the 12-month average remains 17.7% higher than a year ago. Slip, trip, and falls and overexertion accounted for the largest number of lost time accidents year to date.
You were quoted in a very nice article in one of those newspapers saying that despite the fact that these are tough economic times, resources are scarce, and pressure is put even to cut headcount, that you can still see making substantial service and maintenance improvements in the system. How can you do that?
Well, if you take a look at the size of the organization and the number of employees that we have, and you try to, there's stuff that goes on behind the scenes that the public doesn't even see that has to be done from a safety standpoint. So that's the first priority that needs to be taken care of. Critical track, signal maintenance, and mechanical maintenance of the cars. But there's still a large segment of the workforce on the maintenance side that once you get beyond those requirements being met, you can focus those resources on those elements of the system that have greatly affect the customer experience. Cleanliness of cars, timeliness of train service delivery, but most importantly what that article was focused on was the issue of the station experience. For those of you that are going to attend the CPOC meeting later today, you're going to hear a presentation about how there's no doubt about it, if you rode the system in the 80s and you saw the new cars come on the property and you saw the overhauled cars come back from overhaul and you saw the track improvements being made, you didn't have to come to a meeting like this to experience the difference. You saw the difference and you appreciated it because the cars were kept clean, they were graffiti-free, and they were maintained through a scheduled maintenance program, and the reliability improved. Same with track. For some reason in stations we didn't do that, and we made hundreds of millions of dollars of investments in stations, but for a variety of reasons didn't apply the resources to keep them clean and keep them maintained to the same standard. So it's the refocus of those resources, Mark, that will enable us to be able to make a difference. And at the end of the day, the organization is very powerful. On the rapid transit side, on the subway side alone, is 27,000 employees. If you focus those resources and give them a charge, they generally respond very well. And that's the difference that we want to make there, because we want to improve the customer experience. I mean, it's nothing disheartening. There's nothing as disheartening as coming into a station that's been rehabilitated and for 6 weeks you see the same light bulb out, or you see the same tile cracked and not fixed. So it's that level of effort and focus that we're talking about.
Well, you'll certainly get all the support that we can possibly give you if you can do this miracle.
Well, we'll start with 8 stations in 2 phases of 4 each. We're going to make sure people understand what we're doing before we do it, and then take a barometer reading after we do it to see if they notice the difference. If we're spending money to fix safety defects, that's fine, and whether that goes on behind the scenes or in public's eye, that's fine. But if we're spending money in areas where it's not related to safety and it's related to better customer experience, and the customer doesn't notice it, then we have to think about where we're going to apply that resource. So in those pilots, you're going to see an awful lot of outreach and talking to people that matter, and advocacy groups, et cetera. Preliminary financial results show that farebox revenue in 2009 was $3.14 billion, which was less than 0.1% below the final estimate. The average non-student fare in 2009 was $1.41. In constant 1996 dollars, the average fare fell from $1.38 in 1996 to 99 cents in 2009. For 2009, total, because when people look at it in relation to the cost of what is the published fare, it's lost on a lot of people. For 2009, total expenses before depreciation, OPEB, and environmental remediation were under the estimate of $20.7 million by 0.3%. Section 4 of the agenda includes a preliminary review of the preliminary 2009 financial results for both New York City Transit and Staten Island Railway, and a complete analysis of the results will be part of the April agenda as per the committee work plan. Ridership in 2009 was 2.31 billion, the second highest annual ridership since 1969. So even though we have been suffering due to the economic conditions that the country is facing, it's still the second highest ridership we've experienced since 1969. Subway ridership in 2009 was 1.58 billion, second highest level since 1951, decreased by 2.7% from the high in 2008. Bus ridership was at 726 million, a decrease of 2.8% from 2008. Paratransit ridership, it continues its rather accelerated growth, increasing over 17.2% from 2008. We have an early look at financial results for January 2010. Preliminary farebox revenues were $500,000 below budget, and preliminary operating expenses were $8 million, or 1.7% below budget, mostly due to lower power prices and the cost of power to deliver the subway service. Any questions?
Was the late 60s traffic on the buses and subways higher solely because it was a Saturday workday? Is that what it was? Why do we have so many people using the system more than today when the population is grown?
When I've been in public transportation my entire career, and I can't say for a fact that what I'm going to talk about applied exactly the same here as it did other places. But when you look at the number of automobile registrations per family, which started rising after World War II, they probably reached their peak in the late 60s or 70s when the average ownership per family got over two vehicles per family. And that's when you started to see the biggest drop in ridership, because there were more and more people that were dependent upon transit. So that may be one factor. The other factor is I think the economic crisis hit New York in its steepest in the early 70s. So, it's a combination of probably those two factors. But in the industry, by far, ridership started falling off most transit agencies in the 60s when more and more people were switching over to cars and not taking public transit. Fred, capital programs?
Yes, looking at capital for December, year ending 2009. Commitments totaled $1.8 billion. That represented 59% of the plan. That was over 99 contracts that we let out. We fared better on the completion side as we completed $2.3 billion worth of work. That was 91 projects, 82% of the plan. That's it for capital.
Any questions about any portions of the operating report before we move to procurements? Okay.
Stanley Grill is here. The procurement agenda this month includes 8 actions in the book, totaling $15.2 million in expenditures, and I ask for your approval of all 8 actions in the agenda.
One item represents a little less than half, and that's the spare parts and maintenance on the Sonnet contract. Could I have a motion, and then we'll take some questions if there are any?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Service changers, in Section 6 of the agenda, we are presenting a service change proposal rerouting the northbound B13, eastbound B52, and eastbound B54 bus service to the new Ridgewood Intermodal Terminal. The purpose of this terminal is to facilitate customer transfers in the area for an off-street bus turnaround location, and it's something that the community embraces, as do we. And these changes will enable these routes to directly serve this terminal.
Any questions on this change? Okay.
The special presentations in the report, I don't think we're going to go through a presentation. They're just in there for questions, and that has to do with the AFC program and the New York City Transit budget and Staten Island Railway. But and I think the second may be one that you may have some questions on.
Any questions on any of these reports? Quality service indicators? I noted some personal experience on elevators and escalators. I got nailed twice last week, once at Herald Square and once at the Fifth Avenue station. And I'm too old and my heels are too high to walk up all those steps.
The elevators are out of service?
The escalators were out. It was midday, and sometimes what they do is keep the upward escalators moving in the shoulder periods between the rush hours, but the down escalator was working and the up escalator wasn't at 51st and 5th. And Herald Square is just a nightmare. I mean, some of those escalators are 2 years old, and they just seem to be service nightmares. Is there anything, Steve?
Those escalators are under warranty. They were installed by a third-party contractor, and we're after those guys to sort of keep the escalators running.
They're bidirectional escalators, though. So in answer to the chairperson's question, isn't it normal policy we try to keep at least one of them operating in the up direction?
Yes, it is, unless there's a problem with running it up. Yes.
Looking at the scheduled outages on some of these escalators, it's pretty shocking. 74, 75 outages on the newer ones. That's what is. Yeah, I think that might have been Herald Square. Okay. Any additional questions? I think we have a. Are we ready to move to executive session?
I would like to disagree with something that you said. I think that you are in great condition, that you have recovered remarkably, and that you can do anything in the system. So, while it might be easier to take the escalator, you could certainly do anything in the system.
To prove that, after this meeting, I'm going to lift you over my head and twirl you around. Thank you, Mark. I am feeling great. Thank you.
Before we leave, could I ask, my question I ask each time is when the pilot's going to start on my yellow taxi cabs? Joe?
I don't know.
Next month?
I don't know.
No, I think this week we're finalizing our deal with Chase, and we hope to have it before
Before next month, right?
Before next month. How's that? Okay?
It's good to see you smile, Jeff.
He'll smile more probably when we tell him the pilot's in running.
So help me out here. Are we going to go into bus and then executive session?
We can do it either way. I mean,
Let's go into bus, and then we'll do it at the end. Okay.
Okay, good morning. I'd like to ask the committee to approve the minutes of the January 25th meeting. Okay. Overall service performance in December, AM and PM pullouts were above 99% for both December and the previous 12 months. Completed trips fell below 99% for actual December because of the snowy weather. MDBF was 3294, down slightly from December of 2008, and the 12-month average decline from the same period. And I will tell you, though, in this, and you will see in February a big turnaround in the MDBF for MTA bus. It's moving in the right direction. We're happy about that. Safety performance for the previous 12 months ending in December improved with the exception of lost time accidents. The customer accident rate improved by 11.8%, and the customer accident injury rate also improved by 6.2%. Bus collision rate improved by 13.8% from the same period last year, and the bus collision injury rate improved by 20.1%. However, employee lost time accident rate rose by 69.8%. We expect this area to significantly improve in 2010 as MTA Bus begins implementing its restricted duty work option for injured employees, similar to the same practice that's used at New York City Transit. Total ridership for December was down 1.2% as a result of the snow. The 12-month ridership levels declined by slightly less than 1% from the prior 12-month period. Average weekday ridership was off 0.4% for the month of December. The 12-month period showed a decrease of 1%. Average weekend ridership was also off slightly in December, but it was up 1% for the 12-month period ending in December. Preliminary financial results for the 12-month ending December 2009 shows that farebox revenue was $160 million, which was 0.5% better than the final estimate. For 2009, total non-reimbursable expenses before non-cash adjustments were $21.2 million, or 4.6% better than the final estimate. Section 5 of the agenda includes a review of our preliminary review of our financial results for MTA Bus. A complete analysis of the results will be included in the April agenda in accordance with the committee work plan. We have no action items or procurements for the committee approval this month. We do have one service change to present as information for the committee this month. The service change will establish limited stop service on the Q6 route during weekday periods in the peak direction only between Jamaica, Queens, and JFK Airport Cargo Area at the North Boundary Road. Q6 ridership levels have increased, and the introduction of a limited stop service will shorten travel times for our customers.
Why do people take that when the train to the plane goes the same exact route? I've never understood why even run that bus. Do people take it?
Yeah, it's actually gone up, and this, I believe, this is mainly norm for the airport workers, right? Are using this? I'm sorry, go ahead.
This doesn't go where the train to the plane goes. The train to the plane goes to the central terminal area of the airport. This goes to the north cargo area, which is a remote area of the airport not served by the air train.
It's also where the PA administrative building is, I think, in that north cargo area as well.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah. We're going to continue the local Q6 service. Will continue to be provided at all times. There's no net change to the operating cost because the savings that we're gaining from faster peak period service would be offset by the increases in local Q6 service to meet the loading guidelines. We're going to implement these changes in April. The final item this month's agenda is the presentation of the financial reports for the committee's information in accordance with MTA annual budget process. The reports include the 2009 final estimate, the 2010 adopted budget, and the February financial plan for 2010 to 2013. The adopted budget now includes the gap closing actions and the 2010 pegs in the baseline. These were presented below the line in November financial plan that was adopted by the board in December 2009. This concludes my remarks. I'll take any questions anyone has.
Any final questions for Joe? Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn into executive session? All in favor? Okay.